I found the video by accident. At least, that's what I told myself at first. The truth is, something had already felt wrong for months. Not dramatic. Not obvious. Just small absences inside a marriage that used to feel full. My name is Lauren Bishop. I'm 39 years old. And until that night, I thought my husband still loved me. Kevin had fallen asleep on the couch with his laptop open. A normal thing. An ordinary moment. I almost closed it for him. Then I saw the paused frame. A dim hotel room. A wine glass. Kevin facing the camera. Smiling in a way I hadn't seen in years. I don't know why I clicked play. Maybe because part of me already knew. The video started with laughter. Then his voice. Soft. Relaxed. Honest. If things were different, he said, I'd already be with you. My chest tightened immediately. I kept watching. I just can't leave yet, he continued. Not until everything's financially stable. Financially stable. I felt cold instantly. Because I was the stable part. The house. The savings. The business account he depended on. Then he smiled again. And said the sentence that destroyed something inside me. She still thinks we're happy. I stopped breathing for a second. Not because he loved someone else. But because I suddenly realized I was the only person still inside the marriage. I replayed the video 3 times that night. Not because I wanted to suffer. Because I needed to make sure I heard it correctly. Every word felt unreal. Not exaggerated. Not emotional. Calm. Planned. That was the worst part. Kevin didn't sound guilty. He sounded patient. Like our marriage was something temporary he was waiting to outgrow. I looked over at him sleeping on the couch. Peaceful. Comfortable. Protected by the life we built together. And suddenly every memory from the last year started rearranging itself in my head. The cancelled trips. The emotional distance. The way he stopped talking about our future and only discussed finances. The way he complimented me less, but thanked me more. Thanked me. Like I was becoming a provider instead of a wife. At 2 a.m., I opened our banking app. I don't know what I expected to find. But once suspicion enters a marriage, every number starts looking personal. There were transfers I didn't recognize. Nothing massive. Careful amounts. Smart amounts. Small enough not to trigger panic. Large enough to build another life slowly. My stomach tightened. Then I noticed the account label attached to one recurring transfer. K. Not a company. Not a bill. Just one letter. I stared at it for a long time. Because suddenly the video didn't feel emotional anymore. It felt strategic. And for the first time, I asked myself something terrifying. How long had my marriage been funding my replacement? The next morning, Kevin acted normal. That almost hurt more than the video. He made coffee. Asked if I slept well. Kissed my forehead like routine was still intimacy. And I stood there wondering how long someone can pretend before pretending becomes their real personality. You okay? He asked casually. I nodded automatically. Because suddenly I understood something important. He didn't know I knew. And that changed the balance instantly. For the first time in months, I wasn't the one emotionally exposed. He was. He just didn't realize it yet. At work, I couldn't focus. I kept replaying one sentence from the video. She still thinks we're happy. Still thinks. Meaning they had talked about me before. Analyzed me. Discussed my marriage like I wasn't inside it. That thought made me physically sick. During lunch, I checked the transfers again. Same dates every month. Always after my business deposits cleared. Careful timing. Planned timing. Then I found something worse. A hotel reservation confirmation forwarded from Kevin's personal email to our shared printer months ago. I must have missed it. Or trusted him enough not to question it. The reservation was for 2 people. 3 nights. Oceanfront suite. The same weekend he told me he had a financial conference. I sat frozen at my desk. Not crying. Not angry yet. Just rearranging reality piece by piece. Because betrayal is strange. The affair hurts. But the performance hurts more. The smiling. The routines. The fake future plans. And suddenly I realized something devastating. I wasn't grieving the marriage. I was grieving the version of him I thought existed. That evening, I almost confronted him. Almost. Kevin was sitting beside me on the couch, scrolling through his phone while some meaningless TV show played in the background. And I kept looking at his hands. The same hands that held mine during funerals. During business failures. During every version of our life together. How can the same person make you feel safe and deceived at the same time? You're quiet tonight, he said. I forced a small smile. Just tired. He nodded without looking up. And somehow that hurt too. No curiosity. No concern. Just comfort in the assumption that I would stay emotionally available no matter what he did. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I opened his laptop again. This time intentionally. No guilt. No hesitation. I searched the initial K from the transfers. And then I found her. Kayla. Not just messages. Hundreds of them. Photos. Plans. Voice notes. Entire conversations about a future he was building while sleeping beside me every night. But one message stopped me cold. Kayla. When are you finally leaving her? Kevin. I can't yet. She's carrying too much financially right now. Carrying too much financially. Like I was infrastructure. Not a wife. I kept reading. And then came the sentence that broke something permanently inside me. She's stable. I just need more time. Stable. Not loved. Not important. Useful. I covered my mouth to stop myself from making a sound. Because suddenly everything became horrifyingly clear. He wasn't trapped in the marriage. He was managing it. And I had mistaken maintenance for love. I didn't cry the next morning. That surprised me. I thought betrayal like this would feel explosive. But it didn't. It felt quiet. Heavy. Like discovering your entire marriage had been staged slightly off-center the whole time. Kevin left early for work. Before leaving, he kissed my cheek and said, "Love you." And for the first time in years, I noticed how automatic it sounded. Like a password he entered daily to keep access to his life. The second the door closed, I started moving. Not emotionally. Practically. I copied screenshots. Transferred files. Downloaded bank histories. Saved voice messages. Every click felt surreal. Like I was collecting evidence from the ruins of my own life. Then I found a spreadsheet. At first, I thought it was work-related. Budget projections. Expense planning. Investment tracking. Until I saw my name. And below it. Projected transition timeline. My stomach dropped instantly. The document outlined months. Estimated savings goals. Housing costs. Potential legal outcomes. Even emotional risk factors. Me. My reactions. My dependency level. My likelihood of remaining cooperative. I physically stopped breathing for a second. Because this wasn't an affair anymore. It was an exit strategy. One funded by my stability. One built while smiling beside me at dinner. And suddenly every act of affection from the last year looked different. Not intimacy. Maintenance. Not partnership. Asset protection. I sat there staring at the screen, realizing something devastating. Kevin didn't stay because he loved me. He stayed because leaving too early would cost him too much. For 3 days, I said nothing. And Kevin never noticed the difference. That alone told me how long I had already been emotionally alone in the marriage. He still asked about dinner. Still talked about meetings. Still sent me random links and memes during the day like normality itself could protect him. Meanwhile, I was quietly dismantling the illusion around us. I met with a financial advisor first. Then a lawyer. I didn't tell them everything immediately. At first, I couldn't even say it out loud without feeling humiliated. My husband is planning to leave me once he's financially secure enough. Even hearing the sentence made me feel replaceable. The lawyer reviewed the files carefully. Especially the spreadsheet. When she looked up at me, her expression had changed. "This document matters," she said quietly. "Why?" "Because it shows intent." Intent. That word stayed with me the entire drive home. Not confusion. Not emotional cheating. Planning. Structure. Calculation. When I walked into the house, Kevin was cooking dinner. Actually cooking. Music playing softly. Wine already poured. For one dangerous second, I almost wanted to believe none of it was real. That maybe marriages just go through cold periods. Maybe people say stupid things. Maybe he still loved me somewhere underneath all this. Then he smiled and said, "You've seemed distant lately." And suddenly I saw it clearly. He noticed emotional shifts only when they threatened his stability. Not when they hurt me. I sat down slowly at the table. And for the first time in years, I looked at my husband not as my partner, but as someone quietly preparing to survive my heartbreak better than I would. A week after I found the video, Kevin suggested a vacation. That almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny. Because it was strategic. "We both need a reset," he said while casually scrolling through resorts on his phone. A reset. Like emotional collapse was just stress management. I watched him carefully. The relaxed posture. The practiced warmth. The way he kept touching my arm during conversations now. More attentive than he'd been in months. And suddenly I understood why. He was maintaining the environment, trying to stabilize an investment before transition. "You've been working too hard," he added softly. There it was again. Not concern for me. Concern for functionality. I agreed to the trip. Not because I wanted closeness. Because I wanted to see how far the performance went. The resort was beautiful. Ocean view. Private dinners. Expensive wine. And every moment felt emotionally haunted. Kevin kept taking photos of us, posting captions about gratitude and love. People commented how happy we looked. That word again. Looked. On the second night, after too much wine, he fell asleep early. His phone lit up beside me. "Kayler." One message. "Did you tell her yet?" My chest tightened immediately. I opened the thread. "Kevin." "Not yet. I need this trip to go smoothly first." "Kayler." "You said that last month too." Then his final message appeared beneath it. "She's calmer when she feels emotionally secure." I stared at the screen in silence. Because suddenly the vacation made perfect sense. The affection. The romance. The effort. It wasn't love returning. It was emotional management. And I realized something that hurt more than the affair itself. Even his kindness had become transactional. When we came back from the trip, something inside me had changed permanently. I stopped searching for signs that Kevin still loved me. Because love doesn't require strategy documents. Love doesn't need timelines for departure. And love definitely doesn't rehearse emotional stability while planning an exit. The grief became colder after that. Cleaner. Less hopeful. I started noticing details I would have ignored before. How he checked our investment accounts before asking how my day was. How every serious conversation somehow returned to money. How carefully he avoided making long-term commitments unless they benefited him directly. One evening, while reviewing business expenses together, he casually said, "We should probably move some assets around soon." Assets. Not goals. Not dreams. Assets. I looked at him carefully. "Why?" I asked. He shrugged. "Just planning ahead." Planning ahead. Those words almost made my stomach turn now. Everything with him was planning ahead. Future exits. Financial positioning. Emotional timing. I wondered how many conversations in our marriage had actually been negotiations disguised as intimacy. Later that night, I received something unexpected. An anonymous email. No subject line. Just one attachment. A photo. Kevin and Kayler. Not at a hotel. Not somewhere hidden. At a furniture showroom. Looking at apartments together. And below the image, one sentence. "He told her you'd never see this coming." I stared at the screen for a long time. Because suddenly I understood the real betrayal. It wasn't that he loved someone else. It was that he had already emotionally relocated his future, while still using me to finance the transition. I printed the photo the next morning. Not because I needed proof anymore. Because I needed something physical. Something I could hold when my brain tried to soften the reality again. Kevin came home late that evening. Relaxed. Talking about traffic and work meetings like our marriage wasn't already decomposing underneath him. I watched him loosen his tie. pour himself water, move through the kitchen with complete comfort. And suddenly I understood something horrifying. He truly believed he would leave this marriage clean, without consequences, without seeing the damage directly. Long day? He asked casually. I nodded, then placed the photo on the counter between us. Everything stopped. Not dramatically. Quietly. His eyes landed on the image. Stayed there. Then shifted to me. For the first time in weeks, he had no prepared expression. No script. Just calculation happening in real time. Where did you get this? He asked carefully. Not. What is this? Not. This isn't what it looks like. Just. Where did you get it? That told me everything. I know about Kayla, I said. Silence. Then he exhaled slowly and sat down. Almost relieved. Like the performance had finally become exhausting. It's complicated, he said quietly. I laughed. Actually laughed this time. Because men always call betrayal complicated when women finally discover the math behind it. You built a timeline for leaving me, I said. Kevin rubbed his face slowly. I was trying to do this in the least destructive way possible. Destructive. As if destruction was unavoidable from the beginning. As if my heartbreak had simply been a logistical issue to manage carefully. And in that moment, I realized something devastating. He had never been deciding whether to betray me. Only when. The conversation lasted 3 hours. But the marriage ended in the first 10 minutes. After that, we were just discussing logistics around something already emotionally dead. Kevin admitted everything slowly. Carefully. Like he still believed honesty could be managed strategically too. He met Kayla almost 2 years earlier. At first, nothing serious. Then emotional attachment. Then plans. Always plans. I didn't want to hurt you, he kept repeating. And every time he said it, I felt something colder settle inside me. Because people who truly don't want to hurt you usually stop before building secret futures. Not after. What was the spreadsheet? I finally asked. He looked down immediately. That was just financial preparation. Preparation. Like leaving me was a business transition. Not the destruction of a shared life. And the videos? I asked quietly. His jaw tightened. I needed someone to talk to. Someone to talk to. Meanwhile, I had been talking to the man I thought was my husband. The worst part wasn't even Kayla anymore. It was discovering how emotionally alone I had already been while still married. Then he said something that almost physically broke me. I thought staying longer would protect you financially. Protect me. I stared at him in disbelief. You used me financially, I whispered. Kevin shook his head immediately. No, Lauren, that's not fair. Not fair. That word echoed in my head like an insult. Because fairness would have required truth. Fairness would have required choice. Instead, he built an emotional exit ramp while letting me continue investing in a future he already abandoned privately. And for the first time that night, Kevin finally looked afraid. Not because I was crying, but because I wasn't anymore. After the confrontation, the house became emotionally unrecognizable. Not loud. Not explosive. Worse. Polite. Kevin moved into the guest room that same night. And suddenly our marriage turned into a business arrangement pretending to remain civilized. We discussed schedules, bills, who would speak to the accountant. Everything except the fact that 20 years of trust had quietly collapsed in our kitchen. What shocked me most was how prepared he already was. Lists, numbers, projected housing options, even estimated separation timelines. Like emotionally, he had moved out months ago. I was just the last person informed. One afternoon, while reviewing financial documents with my lawyer, I discovered something else. Kevin had been gradually moving money into a separate investment structure tied to Kayla's future apartment. Not illegally. Carefully. Technically clean. That almost hurt more. Because betrayal with chaos can still look emotional. But organized betrayal? That looks intentional. When I confronted him about it, he looked exhausted more than guilty. I was trying to make the transition smoother, he said quietly. Transition. As if I were a company merger. Not a woman losing her marriage. You were building another life while sleeping beside me, I said. Kevin closed his eyes briefly. I didn't know how to leave. And for the first time, I answered honestly. You already did. Silence filled the room after that. Heavy silence. The kind that arrives when two people finally stop pretending they're having the same conversation. And in that moment, I realized something painful but freeing. The marriage hadn't died when I found the video. It died the moment he started planning a future where my love was only useful until replacement became affordable. The divorce process started quietly. No screaming. No dramatic scenes in court. Just signatures, documents, valuations, negotiations. It felt disturbingly clinical for something that had destroyed me emotionally. Kevin remained calm through all of it. Almost too calm. As if he believed being reasonable now could erase the cruelty of how he got here. One afternoon, while we were dividing financial accounts, he suddenly said, I never wanted you to feel used. I looked at him for a long moment. Because the sentence itself revealed everything. Not. I never used you. Only. I never wanted you to feel it. That difference changed something permanently inside me. Later that week, I packed boxes alone while Kevin was out. And I found an old anniversary card from years earlier. One of the good years. Back when his love still felt real. Or maybe when I still needed to believe it was. Inside the card he had written, no matter what happens, we'll always protect each other. I sat on the floor holding it for a long time. Because that was the cruelest part of betrayal. Not that love changes, but that sometimes one person quietly updates the contract while the other is still living by the original version. That night Kevin came home late. He stood in the doorway watching the packed boxes. Then quietly asked, Do you hate me? I thought about it honestly. About the lies. The planning. The emotional manipulation. The years I would never get back. And strangely, I realized hate wasn't the strongest feeling anymore. Exhaustion was. No, I answered softly. I just finally see you clearly. And for the first time since all this started, he looked genuinely devastated. 6 months later, I stood alone in my new apartment surrounded by unopened boxes and silence. Real silence. Not the performative peace that had existed inside my marriage. No pretending. No emotional negotiations. No carefully managed affection designed to keep me stable. Just quiet. At first, it felt unbearably empty. Then slowly it started feeling safe. Kevin and I barely spoke anymore except through lawyers and occasional financial paperwork. I heard he moved in with Kayla almost immediately after the divorce was finalized. That information hurt less than I expected. Because by then, the real grief had already happened. Not losing him. Losing the version of my life I thought was real. One evening, while unpacking old books, I found a photo of us from our 10th anniversary. We looked genuinely happy. And for a second, I almost broke again, wondering which parts had been real. Then I realized something important. Maybe he did love me once. Maybe I loved him honestly enough for both of us. And maybe that's why it took me so long to see the truth. I placed the photo inside a drawer instead of throwing it away. Not because I wanted him back, but because I no longer needed to erase my past to survive it. That night I sat alone by the window with a glass of wine, watching city lights flicker below me. And for the first time in years, my future felt uncertain in a way that belonged only to me. No hidden timelines. No secret calculations. No one quietly planning my replacement while smiling across the dinner table. Just me. Heartbroken. Wiser. Free. And strangely enough, that felt more honest than the marriage ever did.